Welcome, wrestling fans. Welcome to Curtain Jerkin. As always, I am your host, Jacob Grondy, reporting for the Main Event Marks YouTube channel and the Near Falls Media Network, podcasting network. I'm not sure what to call it. I should know by now for sure. This is kind of silly at this point. But what a great few days of pro wrestling it has been. What a great few days of pro wrestling, combat sports, sports entertainment we have coming up over the weekend. I mean, I think there's an NXT show. There's an ROH show. I believe there's probably a New Japan show. I don't think there is 282. Patty the Batty. Going to be watching that. Going to be reviewing some shows. Going to be recording another podcast for you guys in a few days. Action-packed, but of course I'm recording a podcast right now, so we're going to be talking about the topics on hand today, and some of that is including the PWI Tag Team 100, of course, the famous PWI 500, which gets people arguing and talking. One of my favorite times of the year is when the PWI 500 comes out in terms of pro wrestling. So then they expanded. They did the women's list, and now they do the tags list. The Usos are number one. That makes sense to me. I mean, they have both WWE tag titles, and they've had at least one tag title all year. So I understand why they're number one. But if you ask me, number two would have been number one on my list. I would have just reversed them. The AAA tag champions, the IWG tag champions, the ROH tag champions had a rough night on Dynamite, but in my opinion they had the feud of the year with the Briscoes in Ring of Honor as far as tag teams go, and that would be FTR. Number two ain't bad, but I mean, come on, they were shooting for number one. They got snubbed on Dynamite for the AEW tag titles. We'll get to that a little later, and then they got snubbed on this list. So I think December is kind of maybe not been good to FTR, but what can you do? I mean, 2022 has been pretty good to FTR, but I think maybe 2023 they're going to come crashing down to reality, because I do see them losing all those titles in 2023. I'm saying 3 a lot, so let's get to number 3. The Briscoes held the GCW titles. Like I already said, we're in the feud of the year, so I can see them being at number 3. Number 4, Death Triangle. They didn't have a bad match at all, I think, all year. And, they wrestled for AAA, wrestled for AEW. And at the beginning of the year, I think, they had the titles for a little while, so why not have them at number 4? Number 5, Hazuki and Kamiya. I don't watch enough Stardom to really argue this point, but it's cool to see, women's tag teams incorporated with the men's tag team on this list. RK Bro at number 6. If Randy wasn't hurt, I think they would have been closer to number 1, but of course they were only a tag team for about half the year. Number 7, the OC. These guys always entertaining, but I would say that these guys are like the Bizarro World FTR. They wrestled for Impact, New Japan, and WWE, and I don't think they had a good match the whole time. Anderson is in a pretty interesting spot here with the Never title, but that's his singles run. Gallows got slammed by Rhea, but as far as a tag team or tag match, I don't think they'd be anywhere near my top 10 on this list. Number 8, the Young Bucks. These guys are going to make the top 10 every year. I mean, they kill it. Don't get me wrong. Held the AEW tag titles, I think, for a little while here, but were put sidelined for a few months. I'm fine with them being number 8, but they should have jumped, the OC. I think they had a better year than the OC. I would put them at number 7 at least. Number 9, the Hex. Another ladies team. Allison Kay and Martina Bell working in the NWA. Cool to see the NWA making the list. And cool to see these ladies on the list. I know they've been around for a long time. They've been teaming for a long time. Started out in Impact, made their way into NWA, and I think they're kind of showcasing that, the NWA is still out there. They're number 10. I think they're the highest ranked NWA athletes on any PWI list this year. Number 10, Violence is Forever. This is similar to FTR. They held like 6 or 7 indie titles throughout the course of the year, but I do think they're ranked pretty high. They made the top 10 list, which is fine. They are a great tag team, but I personally would have had them maybe at number like 11 or 12 because Aussie Open and Jeff Cobb and O'Khan, both from the faction United Empire, are number 11 and number 12 respectively. And I would put both those teams above Violent by Design, but of course I'm getting nitpicky here. I'm talking about who's 10, 11, 12. But I would have put all three of those teams above the OC. The Street Profits at number 13, Toxic Attraction at number 14. I would have switched those up. I think that the Street Profits are definitely a better team, but injuries plagued the later half of their year, and the Toxic Attraction seemed to be like why people are tuning in to NXT. If I talk to my friends in group chats, they're talking about Toxic Attraction. If they're talking about NXT, if you go on Twitter and look up what people are talking about the day after NXT, they're talking about Toxic Attraction. So one, they've held the titles for so long, and two, they're holding it down for an entire brand. I would have them, if not above the Street Profits, I would have them in the top 10, and I would definitely have them above the OC. Shout out to Boogie Reality, Maddie Rinkowski, and Rachel Chanel. They're at number 100. But I love this list, man. It's really cool to just see, the PWI 500, like I said, one of my favorite times of the year as a wrestling fan, the women's 100, and now the tag 100. Naomi and Sasha were at number 19, by the way. Naomi being seen partying with Jade Cargill at an Atlanta Hawks game. And it looks like Sasha Banks will be seen at Wrestle Kingdom. I think either Fightful or PW Insider reported first, but it looks like, if everyone's reporting the rumor, I don't know. I tend to believe the rumor if everyone's reporting it, and it kind of makes sense here. With, Sasha wanting to do a lot more stuff, and New Japan trying to build a women's division from scratch here. Rumors is that she is signed to the WWE, but just hasn't appeared yet in the WWE. Or that might be not even a rumor. That might be just actually a fact. But in which case, people are saying that Sasha Banks will show up in Wrestle Kingdom as a part of this Carl Anderson dropping the Never title in New Japan deal. And in that case, I would assume that because a WWE guy is losing, you would then have to have a WWE guy win, or a WWE Sasha Banks win. So I don't see her going against the IWGP Women's Champion Kairi Sane in that case. I think that Kairi Sane already has an opponent for this evening, so maybe it's just Sasha Banks in a match, another match somehow. This would be her first match in a while. Maybe she would be in a 6-lady tag match, but either way, I see her going over if this is a part of this New Japan WWE deal that they have to kind of take the Never title away from Carl Anderson. This is the most interesting thing Carl Anderson has been a part of in quite some time, I would have to say. Either way, this is awesome to see. A few years ago, women weren't represented at all at Wrestle Kingdom, and now you have Kairi Sane, one of the most famous ladies wrestlers in the world, holding an IWGP Women's Heavyweight title, and then you have one of the most famous wrestlers in the world, this, regardless of gender, and Sasha Banks coming over to be a part of Wrestle Kingdom as well. And this is already on the stacked card of Okada versus Jay White and Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, and then of course you're probably going to have FTR on that show as well. Not probably, you are going to have FTR on that show as well. So this Wrestle Kingdom is shaping up to be one of the best in a few years. They made it 2 days past few years, which I thought was going to be good, but it kind of took away from the spectacle. A lot of 8-man tags, a lot of 10-man tags to fill out the undercard. But now that we're back to one night, it looks like we're going to have a Wrestle Kingdom the way we remember it, and I'm excited. Wrestle Kingdom was first to make it a 2-night event, a 2-night spectacle. And then WrestleMania followed suit, and I feel like WrestleMania is better 2 nights because you don't have this marathon show like WrestleMania 35 where you don't even remember like Batista's last match or The Miz falling off a balcony by the end of it because you're too busy trying not to sleep while Kofi Kingston is winning the world title and Becky Lynch is beating Ronda Rousey. Where now you have 2 nights. It's, you know, a nice 4-night affair, a 4-hour affair both nights. Where Wrestle Kingdom, because they book New Japan with a lot of 8-man and 10-man tags like I talked about, it kind of dilutes the whole understanding of what you're watching when you're watching Wrestle Kingdom. Where now that it's back to one night, I feel like the crowd is going to be more excited, and then you're going to have a stacked Wrestle Kingdom card again like I talked about, like where every match is awesome, where you're waking up at 4 a.m. to watch, you know, Jay Lethal break the guardrail, and by like 7 a.m. you're watching an IWGP Classic. Can you tell I'm excited about Wrestle Kingdom? January, my favorite month of the year for pro wrestling. My two most favorite shows happen in January. The, you know, Royal Rumble and Wrestle Kingdom. So December is just a big countdown for me. The holidays are a countdown to Wrestle Kingdom and Royal Rumble, if you ask me. But that's New Japan. That's WWE. I'm here to talk about AEW as well. AEW Dynamite, we're going to rank every single match from worst to first from that show, and we're going to give you my overall thoughts on the show. We saw Santa at ringside. We saw Jesus at ringside. There's a lot of people in Texas wrestling shows that dress up like people that have nothing to do with wrestling. I'm all for it. I mean, the famous All Elite Scooby-Doo is from Texas. We haven't seen Scooby-Doo in a while. I think he retired the gimmick. But in replace of that, we got Santa and Jesus here. No word yet on if Jesus was scissoring Santa during this main event. The Dynamite, this was the best one I can remember in a long time as an actual show. Mox promo, they got, you know, they got to do something with this Adam Page thing. I like Mox, I like Adam Page, but there's just something not clicking. I don't know if, you know, the Mox fall from the brawl is kind of still in my head looming, but there needs to be something going on here because it just feels stale, and these are two former world champions going at it. This feud shouldn't feel stale. The Regal promo, this was kind of odd. They were trying to cover their tracks here by saying this was from a weeks ago and that Tony Schiavone finally was able to show them that, but I mean, you're building a feud with Danielson and MJF. Danielson wasn't there, so you showed Mox and Claudio and Yuta, guys that are in feuds with other people right now, something that kind of showed why Regal screwed them over. I don't know. It's all convoluted, and I mean, I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me, and they were looking at each other puzzled, like, did this make any sense? And I'm with them. I'm puzzled like Mox. I'm puzzled like Claudio. I don't really understand. House of Black promos, always badass. Do I understand what they mean fully? No, but they kind of remind me of like this kind of Game of Thrones, weird goth, cool shit. I'm interested. I think it's badass. I do think they're badass even though I'm confused. I do think they issued a challenge, an open challenge for next week. Jamie Hayter sit down. This went by in the blink of an eye very quick. Britt Baker challenged Saraya to a tag match where it would be Hayter and Baker versus Saraya and a partner of her choosing. A lot of people online are saying it's Thunder Rosa, but I feel like they would not have made Jamie Hayter the undisputed world champion if Thunder Rosa is coming back anytime soon. But they also said, you know, they didn't say anything about it having to be a woman here. Maybe we get Ronnie Radke come out. I mean, we've seen other musicians in AEW. What about Ronnie Radke of Fallen in Reverse come out with Saraya, her boyfriend? He's swole as fuck anyways. I can imagine it. I can see it. No, I'm just joking. I don't know who it's going to be. It could be someone as boring as a Tony Storm. Not that Tony Storm is boring, but I feel like for a surprise partner, Tony Storm would be boring. I think they're kind of hinting at Sasha Banks, but I mean, the rumor is she's already re-signed with WWE. I don't know. Maybe that rumor is false, and maybe she's working New Japan and she's going to sign with AEW. Who knows? But let's rank every single match, all 5 matches from worst to first. All these matches were great. So number 5 this week isn't last place by any means, but it's the ladies trios match. Jade and the Baddies versus Kiera Hogan, Sky Blue, and Madison Rayne. Sky Blue and Red Velvet, the announcers having fun with the names of these ladies being colors. Hogan with the hot tag. You didn't really get to see a lot of her, you know, shining when she was a baddie, but now that she's broken free or got fired or quit or something like that, she's doing a little more here. But Jade put a stop to that, overpowering her. Jade and the Baddies win. And number 4, the Battle Royal. There would be a lot of Dynamites where this would be the best match on the show, but this is a great Dynamite here. Ethan Page would put together Battle Royals in the Indies, and most famously the Clusterfuck during Joey Janela's spring break during WrestleMania weekend every year. So I feel like he, was involved in putting together this Battle Royal because it was great. Every Battle Royal he seems to have his hand on seems to be great. Crowd behind Ricky Starks, the Texas resident, cheering on the hometown hero. Cassidy and Kip eliminate each other quick. Dustin Rhodes eliminated quick. The Boys saving Dalton Castle, not letting him fall to the ground, catching him every single time until Brian Cage just hurls Dalton Castle at him. Neither one of them were wearing the ROH 6-man titles, and this is like the 3rd or 4th time they've appeared on Dynamite without wearing those titles, or appeared on AEW TV, I should say. So it's like, if anything, this shows you that, some titles in AEW now are completely meaningless. They do not come out wearing them no matter what. Are they retired? Why didn't you have a match with your trios champions beating the RH champions, and then you could just not necessarily have the champions come out with as 2 title holders, but can join the titles into one trios title throughout both brands. But that's a rant for another day. We're talking about the Battle Royal. Moriarty gone, Jungle Boy gone. W. Morrissey just kills Jungle Boy, chokeslamming him on the side of the ring. Sean Dean, Matt Hardy, Ethan Page, and Ricky Starks are your final 4. Sean Dean gone, 2-on-1 attack. Ricky Stark ends up winning. MJF music hits right away. MJF calls out Ricky Stark, says that you act like The Rock, but you're a smaller version. You're the Pebble. That popped the crowd. Reviewing MJF's promo here, kind of his, you didn't know how good Ricky Stark's promo was going to be at the time, so people were popping for what MJF was saying, but it's really unfair here because he got owned here. I'll say it. Something happened that I didn't think could happen, where Ricky Starks outshined MJF in a promo, calling him Maxi Pad right off the top, getting a pop from the crowd. Says that he may have gotten a lot from The Rock, but MJF got a lot from Roddy Piper. I would also say his mannerisms when he's cutting a promo is like Flair as well. Then just kind of abuses him from top to bottom, running down his shoes, running down his pants, running down his shirt, running down his haircut. Saying that all he does is hit low-hanging fruit, like making fun of the crowd every week. He did something that CM Punk couldn't do. He did something that Jericho couldn't do, and that's outshine MJF on the mic. And I think he needed to do something like this to justify his world title shot. Sure, he won a tournament. There's lots of tournaments in AEW. He won the Battle Royal. Now things are starting to show. You have a tournament win. You have a Battle Royal win. You have him owning MJF on the mic. Now we are finally ready for him to have a world title match on TV. I'm not saying he's going to win the thing by any means, but I think people believe he's enough of a star to stand across the ring from the world champion and it not look silly, which is great. Kudos to MJF and, of course, Ricky Starks for doing that. MJF brought up that Starks was on NWA before that on YouTube. Starks did not shy away from that, kind of used that, said that's where he came from, but now he's here. I thought it was a great promo, great Battle Royal. I don't know, I think the ladies match might have jumped the Battle Royal had there not been this good promo segment right afterwards. But number 3, Blackpool Combat Club versus the Jericho Appreciation Society. Hager tries to get Claudio to wear the hat. Crowd starts chanting, "We the people." They did not forget. That was not a shitty idea from Bad Creative, I guess, right there, because people remember it years later. Great crowd in Texas. Sammy sucks chance, even though he wasn't in the match. He's got to be the number 1 heel in the company, right? Maybe right below MJF. But people cheer MJF now, so it's kind of hard to tell. But as far as just general hatred from the crowd, you got to go with Sammy Guevara. awful Hurricane Rana from Claudio to Hager. Sammy gets involved. Mox stops him. Dragon Tamer by Garcia while Hager has the ankle lock applied to Claudio. Claudio breaks free from the ankle lock, throwing Hager onto Garcia to break up the other submission. Uppercut to the soul of Hager. 1, 2, 3, Blackpool Combat Club win. Now that I'm reviewing both those matches, I think I should have put the Battle Royal on over the tag match here. But you know what? It's already official. I already said it's number 3. Number 2, Joe versus Darby. Darby dives. Joe moves out the way, and Darby is just kamikaze, kills himself going into this guardrail here, and then Joe just beats his ass all over the ring. This was awesome to see. You love Darby because he punishes himself and can keep on going, and you love Joe because he's just clever enough and badass enough just to destroy people like Darby Allin. So this was just like a demonstration of why we love both guys. Darby does not get a lot of momentum, but he does get some momentum to hit a coffin drop, but then gets caught in the rear naked choke. Darby doesn't tap, but he does pass out. The ref has to call for the bell. Styles make fights, and this is a perfect example of that. Rarely would I put a match so one-sided, ranked so high, but this was just so good. This is reminding me why I love pro wrestling from some of my favorite guys, Joe versus Darby Allin. And number 1, FTR versus The Acclaim, the match that FTR fans wanted and were clamoring for until the results came in. Max Caster, of course, cutting his freestyle going to the ring, hilarious as always. Scissor Me Timber by The Acclaim. Dax with several Germans. Neck breaker from Bowens. 1-2. FTR kicks out. Dax with a neck breaker. 1-2. Acclaim kicked out. Tons of near falls from The Acclaim. Big rigged. 1-2. Bowens breaks it up, and at that moment when they didn't win from the big rig, I knew what was going to happen. The Acclaim cut off the Power and Glory spot. Caster in perfect position to hit the mic drop, but no one home. Cash Wheeler rolls out the way. Powerbomb from Cash, goes to roll him up, but then Max Caster kind of uses the momentum to continue rolling, rolls him up from a roll up. 1, 2, 3. The Acclaim beat FTR, the number 20 tag team of the year, beat the number 2 tag team of the year. The Acclaimed were more over here in this arena and all over the AEW universe, if you will. So it makes sense. The moreover team did win here despite the number of titles that FTR has from other companies. But you got to think from Tony Khan's perspective. He's like, okay, well, this team is moreover. We're not going to take the titles off of these guys. And here we have a legitimate reason to show that AEW tag division is better than all these other tag divisions by our champions beating their champ right here, one foul swoop on national television. So it was the right move to do, I think. And then it's like, then you kind of ask yourself, well, Tony, why did you do it at all if you have to ruin FTR's gimmick to put the Acclaim over? And that's because FTR fans were begging for it. So it wasn't like he was backed up into a corner, but he's sitting here listening to his fans. You know, the fans want FTR to have a title shot. Fine, here's the title shot. But, you know, mutual respect. The Acclaim and FTR scissor in the middle of the ring. Thousands of people cheer while they do it. And then the Gun Club, the Ass Boys, come on the screen. Challenge FTR to a dog collar match. But not for them to be in the dog collar match, for the Briscoes to be in the dog collar match. The tag feud of the year gets, you know, a fresh coat of paint. Going into the last pay-per-view of the year, FTR won both the other times. They won WrestleMania weekend and they won over the summer. So this is kind of the rubber match that I feel like the Briscoes have to win. And since the Acclaim beat FTR, I feel like, you know, now they're going to just start kind of losing these titles. I feel like FTR is going to lose to the RH titles to the Briscoes. There's supposed to be a big announcement about Ring of Honor's future on this show. So I feel like the Briscoes are going to be, you know, the tag champions into that next chapter. And then whoever wins the World Tag League in New Japan for Wrestle Kingdom, I think the, you know, FTR is going to lay down for them as well. And then maybe, you know, they do 3 Triple Manias. And maybe one of those Triple Manias you see FTR lose the tag titles to whoever AAA wants to put over. And the story, the tag team story of 2023 of FTR winning all this gold, or 2022, of winning all this gold that is going to, not go into 2023 for too long. Dax Harwood kind of had a breakout year. I can see Dax Harwood kind of going into a singles run, or I can see them maybe signing back to the WWE. I mean, their contracts have to be up at a certain point. They kind of want another feud with the Bucks, and based on that not happening, I don't think the Bucks really want that. So I can see FTR's days at AEW being numbered. A lot of people like FTR, but everyone loves the Acclaimed. Fly high. I'm out.